sovereign people of the Australian Commonwealth. While I'm doing this video, I'm also live streaming it, so hopefully there's no goofs. Australia has come to a critical point with our Parliament, and the time has come to grab this bull by the horns and bring the bull down very quickly. And what I mean by that is it's now time for the Australian people to sack the Parliament. And this is how you do it. The majority has to do this. The majority of the voters will pull this off if they vote this way. Straight away, there is no friends in politics, and please, so don't even go there with, yeah, but I know such and such, he's pretty good, rah, rah. They all have to go. They all need to be sacked. Every single one of them, because they also swear in under the Australian Constitution and not the Constitution of the Australian Commonwealth. So what we do on your green ballot paper, you'll have obviously your vote box, your candidate's name and the party. The way you sack the candidate is from the beginning or the start of the vote box all the way through their name on a continuous line. You strike them out, and you strike them all out. Continuous line. Okay? This means that they are struck out and they cannot resit if the majority comes through at 51%. It means that they are now sacked, gone. And at the bottom of your green ballot paper, you write, no suitable candidates to follow my will. That goes on the bottom down here. No other little pictures, no other text, nothing. It is just this text here which has to go down there. Any other text on a voting form will be basically classified as a donkey vote or an invalid vote, and your voting will not be counted. So people, I urge you to do it this way, and it's now time to sack the Parliament. By doing so as well, you basically will have a re-election. Now, either the re-election will either be by by-election, which has just happened in a few of the states in Australia over the weekend, a state election or federal election. All your green ballot papers will stay the same, and you can do all the same voting on them. Once again, it's time to sack the Parliament, and this is how you do it. Once they are sacked, they can no longer resit. Then a re-election is called. You'll have all different names here again. Now, if you don't like them again, you do the same. You line them all out again, and hopefully the majority comes through, and they are basically, another election goes through. And you continue this until the Parliament and the candidates realise that, hey, the Australian people have actually had enough and we actually have to listen to them. And you continue to do it. But each time you do it, you have to put down, no suitable candidates, follow my will. Now, the reason what my will is there's a old politician decided to write, my will be done, Arthur Clisby. It comes from him. He exposed a lot of stuff. And one of his messages to the Australian people is, you can sack the government, and I'm going to show you how. Once again, your green ballot paper across the board for any state or federal election, including by-elections. You can also do the same voting in your council elections, which are also popping up around the Adelaide areas as well. So with your council elections, you can also sack your local aldermans or your councillors, and it's the same. You just put a line through the voting box and their name in full with one continuous line, and then you put this here again: no suitable candidates, follow my will. And that's it. And you keep on doing it. Bit of history though. The reason why we've got all these boxes here is preferential votes. Now in 1907, the government of the day took that long to get in from 1900, from Federation. We only had Liberal and Labor. Now, Liberal obviously got in first. They started the Parliament, and Sir Edward Barton, and then it took some time for Labor to get in. Now, in 1907, Labor finally got in, and then the government decided to introduce preferential voting. Now, that's illegal. You can't do it, because in our binding constitution, the Constitution of the Australian Commonwealth, it clearly states in section 8, SS 76, each elector, we are the electors, the people, the sovereign people are the electors, shall only vote once. Now, we come back to all these boxes here. So what we have, say if we want the Com Party, we'll go number 1 on the Com Party. And if you're obviously a Liberal or Labor sucker, we'll go 2. Now, then you've got to go back and go, well, hang on, I've actually voted twice now, but in our binding constitution it says I can only vote once. So you see where I'm coming from there. So next minute you'll have 3, 4 and 5. So in hindsight, you've actually voted 5 times, because you voted for Con, next minute you're going to vote for Bill, then Turncoat, then Alliance Party, then the Tag Party. So you've actually voted 5 times. You can't do it. You're not allowed to do it. Preferential voting was brought in by the Labor Party in 1907, so that guaranteed the Labor Party would stay in and not be voted out. That's why it come around, preferential voting, and that's why you don't do it. That's why when you finally do get a government or a parliament in correction that is trusting and they are using the Commonwealth Constitution, you simply on the voting day I'll strike that out there because we want Con. What you do is you put a 1 in your box, and you don't want any of the other suckers, because by doing preferential voting you're actually committing contempt of the binding constitution. Same as our politicians. They damn well know that when they pass over their votes to another party, that's also preferential voting. They too are on the same grounds as SS 76, where electors can only vote once. So they're too committing contempt of the binding constitution, but they don't care because they swear under allegiance to the invalid Australian Constitution, which under section 44I of our binding constitution, our government is actually a foreign government, because they have never ever been sworn in under proclamation. There's never ever been a referendum to repeal our proclamation from the Commonwealth, which then would have made the Australian government. Never been done. They've just swept it under the carpet, and then bang, we're now going to have the emu and the kangaroo, which was also brought in 1907 by the government of the day, Labor, but sadly that too did not follow the guidelines of the referendums required to even change that. It is the Australian government hold no authority. They can't even fine you if you don't vote. Because how can you be fined when you're actually a foreign alliance? So hopefully this explains to you. I can't tell you if I've got any waves or anything on the live feed. I would say probably I have, because the camera's facing the other way. What I will also do is, in a minute, I will post up some passages from our binding constitution in relation to SS 76 in our binding constitution. There you go. That will give me the break to post that stuff. Thanks very much. I appreciate your support. Hopefully you fully understand this. If not, ask Wayne. But I think I've made it pretty clear. So to the Australian people, this is how you sack the Australian Parliament. And it needs to be done. Australia, once again, is at the critical stage of basically no return, because the politicians of today, and sadly, your politicians is like Corey Bernardi, Pauline Hanson, Darren Hinch, all your new parties, if their names are on here, my friends, and they're in your candidates area, they too need to go. Why? Because they've actually allianced themselves with the Australian Constitution. They hold no authority. Simple as that. They need to go. We only want politicians and candidates, parliaments and governments which want to follow the Commonwealth Constitution. That's it. We've only got one constitution, and that's the Commonwealth Constitution of Australia. Thanks, people. Bye. Well, hello again, my fellow sovereign people of the Australian Commonwealth. Now, we've just done the green ballot paper. Now, I'm going to run you through the white voting paper, your big one, which has sometimes a yard-long list of names on it. The one which takes you about 5 hours to fill out if you go under or below the line. So it's basically on the same principle as your green ballot paper. Once again, you want to sack the Parliament. You don't want any of these candidates in, as I said in the last video, even though that your politician friend may be a family friend. There's no friends in politics. Simple as that. They are all cockroaches. They're only there to comfort themselves, no one else. So if you go above the line with your white ballot paper, your voting paper, again, you'll just draw a line from the beginning of the vote box, which, by memory, I think above the line is the party So you want the party gone as well, I think, by memory. So you draw a line from the start of the voting box to the end of their name. And you do that all the way along, how many ever there is. You just want them all gone. So if there's 50 along here, you strike out 50 of them. However, if you decide to leave that and go below the line, have lots of hours with you, because what you've got to do singly is draw a line through the voting box and their name of all, say if there's 150 candidates, you've got to rule a line through each and every one. So even down here, you'll be still going, striking them out all the way through. So until the whole below the line is covered with lines, basically. And then once again, at the bottom of your page, you will write no suitable candidates to follow my will. Now, I have also just checked the live feed from before, and there is a member which has also mentioned some other wording that you put on your green ballot paper or your white ballot paper. They are also valid, the wording that this member has used. So if I wrote every single one down, this whole board would be covered. This is the one which is on Arthur Clisby's My Will Be Done. So this is the one I've used as an example. But once again, I will stress to you as well, on your white ballot paper, please do not deface it with pictures. People, I've seen examples of them. People have been putting people's private parts, drawing pictures of their thingamies on them, writing the clown party, such and such for PM. Please do not deface your ballot papers, or it will be classified as a donkey vote and invalid, because it's not necessary. You don't achieve anything from that. Once again, you will achieve if the majority do this. And I can't stress any more that the majority have to basically grow balls and follow what people are telling you to get the parliament out. This is the way you sack the parliament. It's also come from My Will Be Done, as mentioned, Arthur Clisby. He knows how to do. He knew how to do it because he was in that position once, and he has now let the cat out the bag. So, yeah, it's pretty simple, and I will be voting like this from now on. I will not be going for any other party whatsoever until the parliaments and governments of state and federal ditch the invalid Australian Constitution and reuse the Commonwealth Constitution. Now, what they also do, my fellow sovereign people, is where we can use, we're the sovereign, so we can actually use both constitutions or any constitution. So we can mix them up. We can use straw man's law. We're open. However, any politician who swears allegiance to a constitution can only use that constitution. And what they are doing is they're jumping from Commonwealth Constitution when they want to change something, and then they put it into the invalid Australian Constitution. And that was a prime example a couple of months ago with the Banks Royal Commission, which Turnbull decided to do. Well, the Australian Constitution gets away from anything royal. So you cannot have a royal commission with the Australian Constitution, because the Australian Constitution is the door for Australia to become a republic. Once that has happened, you can't have, now their allegiance is to the Australian Constitution, so as I said, you can't have anything royal. You can't have a royal commission because the Queen has been removed from the Australian Constitution. You can only have a royal commission under the binding constitution, the Constitution of the Australian Commonwealth. But what our government does is when they want to do something, they'll use the Commonwealth Constitution, and then when they want to swing back, they'll go back to the Australian Constitution. They can't do that. It is invalid for them to do that and unlawful. That's just a smidgen of the corruption within our government's politics and parliaments of today. This is the sort of crap, Australia, we need to fix, and we need to fix it now. And the way you fix it is you sack the Parliament. Simple as that. Thanks very much for your support. I love it. I want to keep going with it. We'll see you again soon. Hi, Carol.